Hi, welcome back to Doll Alchemy. I've been a little behind in video posting, mostly because this is going to be a 2-for-1 special, starting with Artemis, continuing our Greek goddess series. So I am a little behind schedule because I had a few elements that needed to be 3D printed, and my buddy was having some issues with his printer. But that's neither here nor there. So first I'm going to focus on the making of Artemis, who was the goddess of the hunt. And then later on, she replaced Selene as the goddess of the moon. So most of her doll features, her features of her outfit and things like that are going to have moon influences. And then a bow and a set of arrows to represent her role as the goddess of the hunt. Okay, so if you'll notice, I'm being very careful to remove all of the paint and features on her face except for the eyes themselves. And that's because I think this particular face sculpt, the character's name is Jane Boolittle, is absolutely gorgeous. And while the rest of her face is going to be original, I am going to use the outlines of her factory paint eyes for my own face up. So that's why I'm being very minimal with my application of pure acetone to remove the rest of her factory makeup. I also spent a lot of time preparing and painting the arm features. So she's got a couple of different arm braces and then an upper arm band. And you'll notice in a lot of old depictions of Artemis that she does have features typical of an archer, where they would protect their forearms for shooting bows and arrows and that sort of thing. And I began by painting them all chrome silver and then dusting them with black pan pastels to make them more aged, or a little bit more looking like brushed metal. I also added a shimmery moonlit kind of sheen to her boots. These sandal boots are the same pair that Hera wears, so I wanted to make sure there was a distinction there. And here I am doing her face up. I wanted, I guess, a more primal, less, careful makeup on her face, so I painted her eyes that stark blue eyeshadow without too much definition. And then I'm just adding purple shadows to her face with other, these are chalk pastels. And initially I decided that I wanted her lips to pop. So in contrast to the purple and blue, I was painting her lips orange. But after a few layers of chalk pastels and pencils, I decided that I hated it. So I decided to go with a more neutral, shimmery purple for her lips. And I painted her eyes a kind of, I guess, like a shimmery aqua color, which I think looks great. And I just used regular black yarn, acrylic yarn that I've pulled apart so the strands kind of look like lightly curly hair. And I'm just following some general shapes that you see on women in Greek art, with kind of the gathered hair in different layers. So there's kind of like a bump, and then a band, and then another bump. So that's what I've done here with different ribbons and pins. I made a very simple garment out of the same kind of material that I made my Athena doll's dress from, only this came in blue. I didn't dye it or anything. Just a over the shoulder, nothing complicated, but I am going to add a second layer of skirt to this great belt, which I'm going to paint silver to match the other jewelry features. So here you see just her plain regular dress. Artemis also wears a short dress because it's easier to hunt in a short dress. And rather than paint them on, I decided to glue on false eyelashes. Nothing crazy like with Hera. Nice and simple. And just like that, she's basically done. I made a set of arrows out of jewelry wire and warbler. The case for the arrows is also made out of warbler. And her really cool bow was printed by my friend with his 3D printer. Moving on to Persephone, who I think is a little less well known than some of the other goddesses. She's probably best well known for the role that she plays in Greek mythology as Hades' wife. So she's the goddess of spring and also queen of the underworld. So the only, I guess, aesthetic I could think of if Persephone were a real person today would be like a pastel goth. So that's why I've chosen this Ever After High doll. I have no idea which character she is. She's one of the later releases because the original doll she came with only had 5 points of articulation. The hands weren't removable, so I swapped out her body with another doll. But anyway, I chose this doll simply because she had that awesome lilac colored hair, which I then curled using boil washing and straws to wrap her hair up. So now that I've fully removed the factory makeup from her face with pure acetone, I covered her face with a few layers of Mr. Super Clear, and I'm going to start her face up. In keeping with her Queen of the Underworld status, I've given her a very smoky eye, and I've blushed her cheeks pretty well. I also penciled in her eyebrows purple to match her hair. I made sure to keep her lip in the pink family because she is the goddess of spring, and I always think of pink flowers at springtime. And also in keeping with spring, I decided I'm going to give her green eyes. A different kind of green, a more, I guess closer to a lime green than Hera. My Hera doll also has green eyes, but hers are for jealousy, and Persephone's green eyes will be related to spring and rebirth. while that was drying, I started working on her outfit. I took some of that same fabric that I had for my Athena doll and I dyed it pink. And then I covered it with a black mesh that I got from an old piece of lingerie that I wasn't using. And I don't know, I kind of just wung it. I knew I wanted something where there was like peekaboo cutouts on the side. And just watch and see. There wasn't really any rhyme or reason or planning. It's definitely like Greek-esque, but it's also something I think you'd probably see on a runway somewhere within the last, I don't know, 10 years. I was less obsessed with her dress because I was more excited to do her flower crown, which was made out of pink and off-white flowers and skull beads. I have been dying to use these in something, so I thought this was a perfect use. It's both parts of her world. Spring and death in the underworld. And I finished her out by putting on several layers of false eyelashes and some black flower beads at her shoulders to join the two halves of her dress together. I try not to toot my own horn, but I will say this is probably the best face-up I've ever done on a doll. I think she looks really, I don't know, sultry, I guess. Oh, and if you'll see here, she's holding a teeny tiny little pomegranate out in her hand. And that goes along with her myth. The reason why she was stuck in the underworld for half the year with her husband, and she spent half the year above ground in Olympus with her mom, is because she ate pomegranate seeds while still in the underworld, so she couldn't escape it fully. And here are my two lovely dolls, Artemis and Persephone, together. And here is a group shot of all of the dolls that I've done for this series so far. Hera, Persephone, Artemis, and Athena. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you like my content on this channel, please like, subscribe, share, and all that other stuff with your friends on social media. And I'm so glad you stopped by. Come back again soon.